Good morning everyone. I am Luigi Corcuera and I will be discussing about pre-colonial. Pre-colonial era is based on oral tradition. It is crude on ideology and phraseology. So, let me tell you what is ideology. It is a set of narrative beliefs and values that a person or group rely on to form basic assumption about reality. And phraseology is a way which language is used, especially in the choice of words and expressions. In pre-colonial era, we have four literary forms. First is the folk tales, the oral literature, folk song, and epics. Under folk tales is the fable. It is a story using animal as a character. Fantastic stories. It deals with underworld characters such as Tianak. And the third is myths. It is the explanation of how the world has been created. And the fourth is legend. It explains the origin of things. Next is under of oral literature, in short, proverbitan. The first is proverbs or salawikain. It is a wise saying that contains metaphor. The second one is riddles or bugtong. It is the battle of wits. And the third is tanaga. It is the monoriming heptasyllabic quatrain expression lesson of life. So, a folk song is a form of folk lyrics which expresses the hope and inspiration the people's lifestyle as well as their loves. We have four characteristics of folk songs. First is the sonorous, second is the repetitive, third is the didactic, and the last one is naive. In the last form of the literary epics, these are the narratives of sustained length based on oral tradition revolving around supernatural events or heroic deeds. Example is Lam, ang Ilocos. And that's all for pre-colonial, and let's head on to our next topic.
Hey guys, this is Carl Andre Di Buraga and now I'm gonna discuss you Spanish colonization, where to extract gold and silver from the Americas, to stimulate the Spanish economy and make Spain a more powerful country. Spain also to convert Native American to Christianity. Next, the Spanish language, traditionally called Castilian, which became the literary language during this time, lent many of its word to our word, include piato, churaco, lamesa, cubiertos, calesa, platito, casa fuego, and a lot more. And that's it. Thank you.
I'm Shana May Saksi and I'm going to talk about nationalistic slash propaganda and revolutionary period, which is the third period in the Philippine literature timeline. So let's start with the characteristics. The characteristic of this era is that it planted seed of nationalism in Filipinos' mind. Also, the language shifted from Spanish to Tagalog since Filipinos are embracing their own culture. And literatures are made to address the masses and not the intelligentsia. The literary forms under this period is the propaganda literature or political essays. Under this is Diaryong Tagalog, La Solidaridad, No Limitangere, and El Filibusterismo, which was written by our national hero Dr. Jose Rizal. So, background check, the Filipino nationalistic side reawakened when the three priests, which is Gomez, Burgos, and Zamora, were guillotined in front of the people without enough evidences. So, Filipinos questioned the ruling of the Spanish in that time, and different type of revolutionary groups started to arise. The known writers in this period is Jose Rizal and Marcelo H. del Pilar. Jose Rizal wrote the No Limitangere and El Filibusterismo, which I said a while ago. And Marcelo H. Del Pilar also contributed in La Solidaridad. So there you have it, guys. That's all for nationalistic, propaganda, and revolutionary period. Next is American period. Bye.
I'm Andrea Tuason, so I'm going to discuss the period of American colonial literature. During the time of the American colonization, imperialism took place in the country, schools catered to the needs of the community, roads redesigned for industrialization, and Filipinos became apprentices of the Americans in various lines of work. One line of work would be writing literature. The characteristics of American colonial period are apprenticeship and emergence. Filipino writers imitated English and American models. Poems written were amateurish and mushy, which phrasing and diction is awkward and artificial. Trends like romanticism and realism prevailed upon the Filipino writers as influences by the Western literature. The literary forms of American are short stories that were created during that time were Dead Stars, The Key, and Footnotes to Youth. And an example of one novel is The Child of Sorrow, and it is the first novel in English by Zoilo Galang. And that's all for the American colonial period.
Today, we will be talking about Japanese occupation. So what happened here in the Philippines when the Imperial Japan colonized us? The Japanese occupation in the Philippines occurred between 1942 and 1945, when Imperial Japan occupied the Commonwealth of the Philippines during World War II. The invasion of the Philippines started on 8 December 1941, 10 hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor. As at Pearl Harbor, American aircraft were severely damaged the initial Japanese attack. Lacking air cover, the American Asiatic Fleet in the Philippines withdrew to Java on 12 December 1941. General Douglas MacArthur was ordered out, leaving his men at Corridor on the night of 11 March 1942 for Australia 4,000 kilometers away. The 76,000 starving on Bataan surrendered on 9 April 1942 and were forced to endure the infamous Bataan Death March, on which 7,000 to 10,000 died or were murdered. The 13,000 survivors on Corregidor surrendered on 6 May. Japan occupied the Philippines for over 3 years until the surrender of Japan. A highly effective guerrilla campaign by Philippine resistance forces controlled 60% of the islands, mostly jungle and mountain areas. MacArthur supplied them by submarine and sent reinforcements and officers. That's all. Thank you.